The Time Machine. This is a film from 1960 that is based on the classic H.G. Wells novel. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I am somebody who is not a fan of time travel stories. It's never been what I was drawn to, and when I was, it was the more simplistic of the ones. My two favorite time travel movies, Back to the Future, number one of course, and it is this movie, The Time Machine. This film manages to do something that I think works for time travel, and that is, don't worry about it, but tell a compelling story that shows the narrative. We're not talking about like the end of the world stakes or the grandiose nature of a man going through time. We're following the complications of this dude just thinking, where is he going to belong? Where does he supposed to be? He doesn't fit in his own time. He's always been compelled to go to the future, and that is what he's been looking forward to. He's trying to find a way to get to the future, and that is what this film's about. It's not, the end of the world. I mean, the world ends kind of in the movie, but it's not about that. It's just about humanity in this man and trying to find where he can go, what he can learn from, and what he's trying to do. And I think that is very compelling. I think that's great. This film is from the 60s, and it holds up surprisingly well. Like, the effects, they're dated at times. Of course they are. They used miniatures in the 60s, which you look at those are going to be bad. But, I think the actual, time-lapse shots look as good as anything today. There's a little bit of clunky nature to them. But that happens, when we're seeing the flowers blossom, we're seeing the decay of a skeleton. It looks surprisingly good. I couldn't do that today, and if somebody 60 years ago could do it as good as I could, maybe today, that's pretty impressive to say. Technology is evolving. Before the 60s, for almost over 60 years ago at this point, 61 I think, 61 years ago this came out, it looks surprisingly well. It holds up really nicely. I enjoy seeing that. And this film is just really fun and lighthearted. It's not trying to sell anything or be crazy. It's just a man traveling through time having fun. Rod Taylor plays H.G. Wells. The character's name is really H.G. Wells, which I'm not going to complain. If I do it too, man, I want to do it too. So good for you for putting your name in this book. I just yeah. We'll see what you got here. Rod Taylor does a great job of conveying every single emotion on the emotional spectrum. He's sad when he needs to be sad. He's angry when he needs to be angry. He's suave when he needs to be suave. He does a great job in this role. He just is composed when he needs to be. He's freaking out when he needs to be. And you get a sense that he's kind of aloof from the rest of the world. A very Dr. Dolittle inspired idea. That's what I got from it. I was like, this is very Rex Harrison's Dr. Dolittle, which I know came out later, but I'm like, there's a lot of similarities here. This guy who's beloved in the community by his friends. He's got his set amount of friends that come to talk to him, but he's like, I need more. There's more to life than what we're here for. He wants to find what that is, and he makes a time machine. And before we get any further into this, let's talk about the time machine, this overly complicated design with gears and levers and a spinning fan behind it. I think it's one of the best looking time travel machines ever, and one of the most iconic designs ever put to film. I could recognize that anywhere. I think it looks awesome. If I were ever to have a replica of any type of time machine, I'd want it to be the one from this movie, because it genuinely looks cool. Just like the blinking lights with the red, yellow, and green succession where you see the year, the month, the day. I mean, that is awesome. That is cool. The spinning fan to show time is progressing. Just the easy to use handle. That shit is cool. That's just really fun. I think that is just such a cool design and so simplified and interesting. And just the display case, it's great. I absolutely adore this. That is how you make a design for a time machine. It looks really fun and cool. I adore it. Of course, we're dealing with time travel, and since this does take place in the early 1900s, literally the new year for 1900, and we gotta go back to the wars, right? We just have to talk about them. So we see the progression of World War I leading to World War II, a war that happens in the 60s. I guess somebody had a thought here that maybe something was going to happen in the 60s. Now, I understand that in the 60s, you're looking at this new era that's coming into play. I know this is the actual 60s. So it's a little early for the hippie movement and the flower power and the generation that's going to rebel. It's kind of a little before that time, but it's right on the edge where I could see this being a piece of film that you could look at. You see what happens when your hippie ideals take form and you relax every day and you don't do any work. You get put into a slave camp by a bunch of underground people mutated to look like Morlocks. That is what's going to happen to you. So you gotta man up and be the human. You gotta go back to those times, those World War II times, and be the hero, be the good guy, the soldier, the one who's going to work, the workforce. And I'm like, yeah, you could see that in there. And I certainly did. There was a great part of me that's like, yeah, okay. This film is adamantly against the hippie movement. It's just trying to be don't relax. You should be worried. humanity can only advance when we fight the ideals and we complicate and we learn and we evolve in these stuff. When you just like sit back and let the world move around you, you're not changing with it, so you're going to become obsolete, which is kind of great science fiction in itself. But also, it's the 60s. That kind of stuff is going to become more and more prominent as the story progresses and as our decade progresses. So I'm like, there's something in there. Maybe it's a little early to dive into those because the movement didn't start till later on in the 60s, but it's there to see. You can clearly see that kind of thing in there. Just like, kids, you got to go to work. You got to get a job. Quit relaxing. Get on your ass. Come on, let's go. I think that's kind of a fun thing to look at. So our guy here, George Wells, travels to the far future of 807,000 something something something. He's in the far future where humanity has kind of evolved into these two subcategories of Morlocks and Aloys, and you're like, okay, what is this going to look like? And of course, I mean, this is where I'm kind of like, I understand why you did this because it's the 60s. No one's thinking about this kind of stuff, but we meet a group of humans, just like a bunch of sexy white blonde people, which, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, we're in America. I'm not going to complain about that. And it's just a bunch of lazy hippie types. But there's one that stands out, Yvette Minogue, who, she did good. I had to look it up because she was young when she filmed this. And we saw Rod Taylor was 30 when he made this movie. Yvette Minogue was 18. So, it's not illegal or creepy, but it's like, that's 12 years. That's a whole person in between that. That's not a great age. It's not like the worst one we've seen, but I don't like it. I don't think it holds up well. But Weena's an interesting enough character, but also everything that happens with the Aloys in this is just kind of convenient because they know everything he's talking about. Even though they're like thousands of years into the future, they understand these things that they've never dealt with before right away. That's kind of a criticism I have of this. But again, it's the 60s. Nobody was thinking about this stuff. We're not going to put it under a microscope that hard because, she understood what a torch was after never seeing fire before. They just understood how to do these basic things after, George showed them. Like, that's not like a criticism because that's just what needs to happen for the story to evolve forward. It's not about those kind of things. It's about a man finding himself in the future and figuring out what he's going to do. One of my favorite shots of the movie was when you just see him like pick up one of the old books and it crumbles in his hands. That looks really good. That's not something that's easy to pull off, and it looks really good. And when he like runs his hand across the whole shelf and breaks them, that was really cool to see. There was just so much gorgeous cinematography in this that holds up really well. I know some people might not like it. I understand that. Like, there's some parts about it where it's like, oh, this looks cheesy and campy, but they had to use miniatures. They didn't have the technology to do anything else. So when you look like a wide shot and you see the cars being melted by a volcano, which is miraculously next to where he lives all of a sudden, that's not a complaint. I'm just like, you have to use them. They look good. They work for what they're doing. The interesting use of green screen, I will say, is kind of good. You can see the lines around Rod Taylor in some of the scenes, but it's not a complaint of mine. Like I said, I'm somebody who can view science fiction for what it is, or anything for what it is. If you don't have the budget or the resources and you look at it from the time period, I'm just impressed they made it look as good as it did. And you can see where all the money went to, which was the Morlocks. And the Morlocks, surprisingly to me, they looked pretty good. I'm not going to say they were perfect, because they weren't, but like, it worked really well. You saw like this could be like a subcategory of human species if they devolved in a sense, and how that fight scene plays out, I think, is pretty cool. That's another great scene too, when one of like the Aloy guys just like makes a fist and uses it to club the Morlock the first time he's done any physical labor in his life. That's a really interesting scene. Now, I don't understand how the Morlocks took over the Aloys, but who needs to know? The brute always take over the weak. It makes sense, I guess. I just think that's a really interesting concept, and time travel's not something I go for, so when you can make it work like this, I'm impressed. If it's just a simple story, a guy is hundreds of thousands of years in the future, he meets a girl he kind of likes, and he wants to show the civilization that in order to survive and thrive, you have to actually work for stuff and do some cool things. That's kind of fun. I think that's an interesting story, and there's a lot to explore there. I also like how this movie opens when we see like all his friends waiting for him to show up to dinner, and it's kind of like him retelling the story of his adventure that he went on, because all those friends are just complete idiots. I love the guy that's constantly drinking, and then when like Rod Taylor bursts into the room, he hands him his glass of wine and immediately grabs his other glass and pours him some more. That's funny. That's good shit. Like a guy who's just constantly drinking. That's funny. I like it. Philby's a great character too. He's the only one that's kind of like interested and understands what's being said here, which I kind of enjoy. Everyone else is like, yeah, whatever. But he gets it. And like at the end of the movie, when we see that Rod Taylor goes back to the future and he puts all of it together, I think that's really nice. And I kind of think there's more story you could tell here if you wanted to explore that. If you don't, I get it too. But there's some really interesting stuff here. Rod Taylor and Yvette Minogue do a really good job of portraying what their characters are going to be. Of course, Weena acts like a woman written by a man in the 60s and how like it's science fiction and like naive and sexy and all that. But there's some genuinely interesting stuff with her. The costumes look good. The sets look good. The time machine itself looks incredible. And that is something I think is really important for a movie like this. If you can get the time machine to look cool, if you can get the concept of time travel to work, those are the things you should focus on. And those are the things they got right. So it's a fun movie. I think it still holds up. It's a little campy and schlucky at times, but for being 61 years old, I have no major complaints about what this film represented to me. It was solid. It was engaging. I liked it a lot. I think it's a really good piece of science fiction and a great addition to the Galactic Tales episodes we are doing here. So that is my rendition of Galactic Tales for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.